Big exciting news as uncertainty. Yes, uncertainty across the country about the presidential race and, more importantly, the Senate race opens the door for you to demand a lot of stimulus checks, FPUC, hazard pay, and more. And for the first time on this channel, I'm going to be going over why wildcard states of South Carolina, Alaska, Georgia, Texas, Kansas, and of course, Georgia could determine whether or not you get a stimulus and a stimulus check, an FPUC, and hazard pay. It's big developments and it's exciting, great news. And this is the continuation of Afternoon's LALATE on Purple. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoon's LALATE, and this is the continuation of our 2-hour programming block with Purple. Coming up after this is McConnell versus Trump, and then Pelosi versus Mnuchin. Don't miss either of those videos, because unlike normal days where it's very Pelosi-ish and very McConnell-ish, I'm just throwing a lot of stuff into each of these videos because there's so much to record. It takes 2 hours of recordings. So let me give you this. Go to the front channel, subscribe, because you are going to be happy where you are today, finding a channel that is going to bring you the path, the optimism, the motivation, and the family to get you your stimulus, like anyone else out there. Also, like this video. In this video, I will be going over why the focus is now on the Senate races and why we may not know what happens for the Senate races on Tuesday night, and why that helps for your push for the stimulus, and why it hurts Nancy Pelosi and her big bailout of states. Suddenly, Nancy Pelosi's pulling her hair out, whether there's any hair left or not. But this is the video you're going to realize, oh my goodness, LALATE, whoa, I did not see this coming. And where is this going? And how is this happening? I've told you a few days ago that I'm not going to predict the elections, but I will tell you what happens if an event occurs. And that's what is occurring right now. Here is the breaking news. The breaking news is that the attempts by the Democrats to take the Senate so that Nancy Pelosi can just sort of walk in with her big 3,000-page bill that gives a big bailout to states and locals and very little stimulus to you could be falling apart. That plan could be falling apart for a series of major details released minutes ago, but I've been tipping you off to in recent days. One, the Democrats' push to fund a unseating of the GOP in the Senate is running out of money. Yes. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are watching as the Senate Democratic Fund, or whatever it's called, the money bank of the Senate Democrats, is running out of money. They literally have no money down to the last hour. They've been spending it, and they've been approaching Mike Bloomberg out of New York. Chuck Schumer has been approaching him to say, please, 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 give me some of your billions of dollars and put it to our attempt to take the Senate back from Mitch McConnell. He doesn't want to give it. Bloomberg doesn't want to give it. And his lack of wanting to give it might show why. Because the last time Bloomberg did this with the Senate, it didn't work. The Senate stayed Republican. So the fact that Bloomberg is not giving money to a thing that previously he threw money at it and didn't work might suggest that he thinks the Senate may be still controlled by the Republicans. And then there's the other side. A new report today, minutes ago, says that the Senate now, those senators that just want to do things for big business, apparently have gotten an enormous sum of money given to them by rich donors in just the last 48 hours, and that they're ready to do a massive push in the last 7 days before the election to keep control of the Senate. Now, as you sit here today, you're thinking, is this good for me, LALATE? Is this bad for me? What does it mean if the Senate stays Republican? What does that mean for my stimulus? Because I remember that Mitch didn't do this, and I remember that Mitch didn't do that. Let me explain something to you. it's really hard to predict what one thing means to another. But what I can tell you is the following. Nancy Pelosi's position since the month of May has been my way or the highway. I was the one that coined the expression to describe her. And since then, Mark Meadows has said the same expression as well. I've additionally said that Nancy Pelosi has left us on the finish line for upwards of several months, as Mark Meadows said just a few days ago, and that she doesn't want to get you over the finish line, hoping that she gets exactly her way or the highway. Well, if the GOP retains control of the Senate, guess what? It will never be her highway for another many, many years. And with that, she has to give in. She can no longer stay on her high horse numbers of $400 billion for state and, $5 trillion for testing and tracing and one measly $500 stimulus check for you. She has to start doing things that the American people want. And suddenly, the dictatorship of Nancy Pelosi falls apart. This is what's really interesting. Now, on the other side, it does have a strange dichotomy of concern. The GOP has had 3 bills introduced to the Senate since the pandemic started. All 3 have had unemployment assistance. All 3 have had a very bad number for unemployment assistance, $300 a week. All 3 have not had stimulus checks in them. All 3 have not had hazard pay in them. So ultimately, you have to wonder, well, wait a second. Mitch is not giving us much of anything. Nancy's not giving us much of anything, and the people aren't talking. Well, this is ultimately your decision to interpret the events. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I think the erosion of optimism of Nancy Pelosi with a one-path approach, which is I get to win the Democrats, I get to win the Senate, would essence erode her ability to negotiate the way she's negotiated so far, or not negotiated. A new report says that the Democrats are wrestling over the Senate with a handful of races to determine which party would control the cabinet chamber and could determine the presidential election. Where are we on these numbers? This is out of ABC minutes ago. The Republicans hold a 53-47 majority of the Senate. That's where we are currently, 53-47. The Democrats need to win back at least 4 seats, 3 if Biden takes the presidency, because then the vice president breaks a 50-50 tie. So if Biden wins, they only need to win 3 seats. And if Trump is reelected, they need to win 4 seats. They will also have to deal with another factor, which is that a Democrat out of Alabama, Senator Doug Jones, is expected to lose. So they have to perhaps pick up an additional one to deal with him. Now, here's the rub. You heard me talking about Georgia all last night on Early Mornings LALATE. Georgia is one of the key races that apparently could determine the entire future of the Senate and ultimately your stimulus. And that Georgia race is so close that they're expecting it to be a runoff. A runoff? What does that mean? It means we wouldn't know what happens for Georgia on Tuesday night. So then what happens? Then what happens to the Senate? Then we wouldn't know who's in control of the Senate on Tuesday night. Well, how long would we have to wait? A couple of days or a little while. This is very, very confusing. The wild card races, separate and apart from Georgia, include South Carolina, Alaska, Texas, and Kansas. And those races are too close to call by both liberal and conservative media. They just can't call the races. Lindsey Graham is in the fight for his life, of course, against Jamie Harrison. And now what's happening is that Mike Pence is going into South Carolina to campaign very heavily for Lindsey Graham over the next couple of days. This is a big battle. Alaska, where GOP Senator Dan Sullivan is running against Al Gross, an independent aligned with the Democrats, is another battle where the Republicans are on the defense, says ABC. Notoriously difficult to poll because it's Alaska. Independent voters and Gross's fundraising effort have left it literally a nail biter. So they can't call the race in Alaska. It's too hard to call it. In Kansas, where Senator Jerry Moran, who was reelected by 30 points the last time that Trump was on the ballot, is now against Senator Pat Roberts, who has literally left it unable to determine the future as well. So what are they doing? They're bringing Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who a lot of people like, even liberals like Mike Pompeo, to go in there and push for what's going on in Kansas, and is hoping to do what they can to get a very difficult race One. So what does this mean for your stimulus? How much stimulus could you get? Where would the stimulus come from, and how would it come from? Let me go over the numbers and let me go over the details. The issue as we sit here today is there's executive orders to give you stimulus, and there is legislative path to get you stimulus. For legislative path, that requires the bill to start at the House, go to the Senate, and then go to the President. If the Senate goes Democratic, which is what Nancy Pelosi's betting on, that whatever Nancy Pelosi writes up, it would potentially become a law, despite whatever happens in the presidency on Tuesday night. Let me explain what happens. Nancy Pelosi writes something in the House. The House is, of course, Democratic. It's going to stay Democratic. She writes up something. The Democrats in the House approve it. It goes to the Senate. If the Senate's Democratic after Tuesday night, then the Senate would approve it, and then it would go to the White House. The White House could veto it, of course, but ultimately the president's not going to keep on, if it's Trump, he's not going to keep on vetoing it indefinitely because he wants stimulus to go out to the American people. And if it's Biden, he'll approve it. Now, it's important to understand, because I don't say it every single day, is that when I talk about winning on Tuesday night, they do not come into office on Wednesday morning. They come into office in January. But what I'm talking about is the impact of the results on Tuesday night. Now, let's say the Senate stays Republican. Then that could potentially get you your stimulus faster right away in October. Let me explain to you why. Because if you have Nancy Pelosi in the House, she writes up a bill, the House Democrats approve it, it goes to the Senate, and the Senate, which is Republican now, is going to be staying Republican next year. Nancy Pelosi has to negotiate with the Senate. She can't do her my way or the highway anymore because ultimately there will never be stimulus. There will never be a bill. Nothing will ever pass in this country because the Senate is Republican now and will be Republican after January, after Inauguration Day. That's in the event that on Tuesday night the Republicans keep control of the Senate. This is incredibly good news to get Nancy Pelosi off of her my way or the highway. It may trouble or confuse or make a lot of viewers anxious because they've seen the Republicans not want to give you certain types of stimulus. We simply just don't know. We don't know. And we don't know which Republicans would be gone and which Republicans would be coming back. Understand that some of the Republicans in those numbers, are up for re-election, and some of them are those the Republicans have a 53-47 majority. So of those of the majority, some of them might be the cheap Republicans who don't want to give you any stimulus. They could be gone, and you could be left with the more moderate Republicans who do want to give you relief. Finally, if the Senate stays GOP after Tuesday night, as it is today, it means much of nothing who's the president. Let me explain to you why. Nancy Pelosi writes a bill in the House. It goes to the Senate. It's GOP now, and it's GOP after election night and after Inauguration Day. She has to negotiate with them because the bill won't go to the president until it passes the Senate. It's that type of makeup of this country. She can have Joe Biden in office, but Joe Biden's not going to approve it until it gets out of the Senate. And it won't get out of the Senate until they approve it. Let's keep Donald Trump back in office, reelected, and let's use the Senate staying GOP. Well, that's just basically the status quo. In that case, ironically, you would get the stimulus the fastest way possible. Now, what makes this really peculiar, and I know what you're about to say because you just heard a scenario in there, you would think the president would say, if you want my stimulus, just reelect everyone, because that's the fastest way to get a stimulus on the day after Election Day. Nancy Pelosi's betting on the Senate going Democratic and betting on me going, well, if you do that, then you're not going to, this is how he would talk. You wouldn't get stimulus till, 5 years from now. But if you reelect me and the Senate, then you could get stimulus right after election. It's ironically very true. It's ironically very true. The question is why he's not realized that scenario and told the American people to get their votes out for him. But with a president who has 3 to 5 campaign stops a day, he could be saying a lot of stuff. One of the viewers said in one of the comments overnight on a few of the videos, and I adore it, he said, you know what, get some people to go to those Trump rallies, those Trump campaign stops, and put up a sign that says, executive orders or no vote. Maybe that'll get him the message. Put it in the front row, Get it really loud and clear. Let me answer some incredible questions and comments from yesterday's video. Hi, I'm William. Mark of the Beast coming to community near you. Richard Carnes. Someone should throw a bucket on Nancy so she melts. Kathy Long. Food prices increasing in grocery stores. They are. Denise Garcia. Why is Nancy in her scars? I feel like choking her to senses. Evelyn Davis. The president needs to wake up. Alex Sarabia. I'm not a religious man, but I'm praying for all of us. I love that, Alex. By the way, the choking thing is not funny. Dreamweaver Serenity, longtime viewer of this channel. Good afternoon, LALATE. No kidding about the cost of foods. Just at the store today, and I just bought last week, gone up last week, and I can barely eat now. Not sure how much more I can able to eat to keep if it keeps up. My daughter's, like you mentioned, is one of those workers at the grocery store and a single mom of 3. So her daughter is a grocery store worker, single mom of 3. She qualifies for hazard pay. She qualifies as essential worker, and that's why she has been really laser focused on this hazard pay for a while. And this is what she says. She deserves hazard pay. She does deserve hazard pay. She's worked through this pandemic, putting her life at risk as well as my grandkids' lives so you can all have food. I love that. I hope the president understands that. Ustave Clevenshire, what a beautiful name. Sad to say the Purple Power has to pray for the price of all this mess. We're praying for everyone every day. Teresa, we need $4,000 checks fast, and then $2,000 a month each month. I love that, Teresa. Good point. Betty Black, they feed off each other. He said, she says, we are the Purple Power. We're strong and we're not defeated. I love that. Malaya, they need to give us our money. They do. Obviously, since this video is called Hazard Pay, you need to be on social media and pushing for Hazard Pay. You need to be part of the Purple Power Caucus for Hazard Pay on social media. Go on Twitter, go on Facebook, go on Instagram. Tweet hashtag Purple Power Hazard Pay all together. If you want to talk about check, hashtag Purple Power check, hashtag Purple Power FPUC, and add a hashtag LALATE on that as well, so I catch you and we follow each other. I'll go to the front channel, subscribe, because this is going to get good. It's going to get good. It's going to get messy before it gets good. You know it does. Yeah, just get ready for some messiness. It's just more than a bad hairstyle out of northern San Francisco. And also like this video. Thank you for liking the videos the last few days. It's really helped. The videos are actually now appearing higher in the algorithm, and it really helps because it brings more viewers into this channel and helps more people who really need help find videos that are informative like this one. Coming up next is McConnell versus Trump, but that's going to be a lot of big developments about the Senate and your stimulus. So stay tuned for that. And then Pelosi versus Mnuchin, which is going to have big developments about the stimulus and the presidential race. Oh, boy, it's getting good. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay FLA for more.